ready?
We're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. The first hearing for the James Joint County Watershed Drainage Improvement Project is the purpose of our meeting today. I'm going to go around and let everyone introduce themselves. Barb, we'll start with you.
Okay, Barbara Lewis, Delaware County Commissioner.
Gary Merrill, Delaware County Commissioner.
Jeff Benton, Delaware County Commissioner.
Mark Davis, Marion County Commissioner.
Andy Applefeller, Marion County Commissioner.
With that, we're going to go through kind of the outline that we're going to follow today, and I'll read through that, and then we'll turn it over to Soil and Water to give us a report from the first hearing. There's a sign-in sheet that's circulating in the room, and we ask that you please sign the sheet to indicate your attendance. Here's what will happen today. We will hear a report from the Delaware County Engineer and Delaware County Soil and Water Conservation District. There are copies available at the back of the room. Following the presentation, there will be a time for questions from the Joint Board. After questions from the commissioners, the Joint Board will hear from any interested owners that wish to testify. Those speaking for or against the petition must be an owner, as defined in section 6131-01 of the revised code. Before accepting testimony for or against the petition, the Joint Board will acknowledge receipt of any handwritten testimony before hearing live testimony. We will first call all those wishing to testify in favor of the petition. We will then call those wishing to testify in opposition to the petition. Before testifying, you will be asked to take an oath. After all those wishing to testify for or against the petition have been heard, there will be an opportunity for responsive or rebuttal testimony. The Joint Board will close the public hearing after all testimony and evidence has been presented. After listening to the testimony and the report of the engineer, the Joint Board will decide whether to proceed with the survey and design or dismiss the petition. The Joint Board must consider the following factors in making their decision: whether the proposed improvements is necessary, whether proposed improvements will be conducive to the public welfare, and whether the cost of the proposed improvements will be less than the benefits the improvements provides. If the Joint Board proceeds with the petition, the Delaware County Engineer will prepare plans, reports, and individual schedules of assessments for the project. When plans are complete, a final hearing will be set. Notification of the hearing will be given to the landowners, and the Joint Board will consider the project. So that's the guideline, the outline we're going to follow, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brett with Soil and Water.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Brett Bacon, Deputy Administrator, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. I will read the first hearing report into the record, and then I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have. First hearing report, James Joint County Watershed Drainage Petition per ORC 6133, November 25th, 2024. This report has been prepared for the preliminary hearing on a drainage improvement petition filed by Joseph Isler on June 7th, 2024. The original petition has been signed by one individual representing 2 of the 10 parcels in the watershed. The course and termini of the requested improvements are quoted from the petition as follows. In Delaware County, Marlborough Township, and Marion County, Waldo Township, within the James Joint County watershed, and generally following but not limited to the course and termini of existing improvements. The following is the nature of the work requested as quoted from the petition: to generally improve the drainage, both surface and subsurface, to a good and sufficient outlet by replacing, repairing, or altering the existing improvements as required and or creating new surface and subsurface drainage mains or laterals as requested by this petition. Petition process. This petition has been submitted according to section 6133 of the Ohio Revised Code, or ORC, which authorizes a joint board of commissioners to act on behalf of benefited property owners to make drainage improvements. If the joint board of commissioners decides to proceed with the project, the costs related to the improvements in the development of plans, reports, and schedules are assessed to the landowners in the watershed according to the benefit received to their watershed acreage. These special assessments will be added to the property taxes for each property and can be spread over a maximum of a 15-year period. Property owners may also choose to pay their assessment in a lump sum payment prior to placement on their property taxes. Additionally, the improvements will be placed on the Delaware County Drainage Maintenance Program in perpetuity per ORC Section 6137. And the annual maintenance assessment will appear on property tax statements as a special assessment in the same manner as the construction assessments. These annual maintenance assessments are generally in the range of 2 to 5% of the construction assessment. The decision to approve a petition project is a three-step process. First, a viewing of the proposed improvement is conducted for the commissioners to familiarize themselves with the watershed and general conditions. The commissioners conducted the viewing for this project by drone video on September 9th, 2024. Next, a preliminary hearing is held to consider the initial feasibility of the proposal. It is this preliminary first hearing that is before us today. If this petition is approved, a final hearing will be conducted to further consider this petition. At that time, final details such as engineering plans and specifications, cost estimates, and a proposed schedule of assessments will be known. Existing conditions. The Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District and Delaware County Engineers Office have made the following observations of the watershed using on-site evaluation and in a review of available historic records, aerial photography, topographic mapping, soils mapping, and drone video. The James Joint County watershed, as defined for this hearing, measures approximately 125 acres and includes lands within both Delaware and Marion counties. The predominant land use within the watershed is agricultural, with smaller areas of rural residential and rights-of-way. Improvements have been made in the watershed utilizing the drainage petition process in 1907. These improvements appear to consist of subsurface drain pipe installation only. The existing subsurface drain tile was improved and relocated in 1990 by private landowners according to an engineering plan done by the Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District in cooperation with the USDA Soil Conservation Service, now the Natural Resources Conservation Service. The existing drainage system appears to be functioning as a good and sufficient outlet for the watershed. No known issues requiring immediate repair are known to exist at this time. The drainage system is not currently covered by an ORC 6137 drainage maintenance easement. Estimate of cost factors favorable, unfavorable, benefit versus cost. ORC 6133 requires the county engineers to state in a report factors favorable and unfavorable to a proposed project, estimate the cost of the project, and state an opinion as to whether the benefits of the project exceed the cost. The following information is presented for your consideration. Current value estimate. The proposed project would begin approximately 175 feet south of Norton Road at the Isler-Fisher property line and extend approximately 1,050 feet north to the junction with Norton Run. The primary item of infrastructure is 15-inch corrugated interior drain pipe. Estimate of current value. Construction, $25,000. Project administration, survey, and engineering, 10% of the construction estimate, $2,500. Drainage maintenance, ORC 6137, first year startup, 5% of construction estimate, $1,250. Total project current value estimate, $28,750. Notes. It is important to understand that the above estimates are preliminary and made in the absence of a current detailed investigation of the area. Should the petition be approved to move forward, a detailed analysis will be performed to establish the capacity and condition of the existing infrastructure. The estimate presented reflects the replacement cost estimate should the infrastructure require complete replacement. This estimate does not reflect the value of the surface drain area which diverges from the subsurface drain pipe. It is believed the current petition request can be satisfied by accepting the subsurface drain pipe onto the drainage maintenance program. However, the surface drainage infrastructure will be evaluated as part of the detailed investigation and may be included as part of the final proposal. The above estimate does not contain a contingency amount. The amount of necessary contingency would be evaluated as part of the survey and engineering design of the project and added to the estimate presented at the final hearing. Contingency cost is typically estimated at 15 to 20% of the final construction estimate. As an example, a 15% contingency would add approximately $4,300 to the construction estimate. Should the project fail to be approved at the final hearing, the benefiting landowners, as defined by ORC 6131, may still be responsible for the cost of project administration, survey, and engineering design. Assessments. If the project moves forward to the second hearing, the Ohio Revised Code instructs the county engineer to calculate the assessments to individual property owners based on the benefits received from the improvements for the various properties in the watershed. ORC 6131 states that, quote, Uplands that have been removed from their natural state by deforestation, cultivation, artificial drainage, urban development, or other human methods shall be considered to be benefited by an improvement that is required to dispose of the accelerated flow of water from the uplands. Benefits are further defined by the ORC as elimination or reduction of damage from flood, removal of water conditions that jeopardize public health, safety, or welfare, and increased value of land resulting from the improvement. It should be noted that property owners are only assessed for those improvements that are located downstream from their properties. No property is assessed for the improvements located upstream. The public agencies that own rights of way for public roads and other public lands are also assessed for both construction and maintenance costs in the same manner as private property owners. Individual parcel assessments are not calculated for the preliminary hearing and are only calculated if the petition moves forward to a second or final hearing. Factors favorable, unfavorable. Factors favorable to the improvement: improved surface and subsurface drainage in the watershed, reduction of future deterioration of the surface and subsurface drainage infrastructure, annual inspections, maintenance, and protection of the improvement in perpetuity. Factors unfavorable to the improvement: temporary land use disruption during construction, cost of construction and maintenance may be a burden to some landowners, removal of existing trees and brush in improvement area. Benefits versus cost. Assessments for property within the watershed are calculated based on the benefits derived from as well as the contribution to the drainage system. The benefits to agricultural lands are realized differently from what is commonly seen for residential properties. However, both types of land use are commonly recognized to have benefit from a good and sufficient drainage outlet. A publication by the Ohio State University Extension titled Returns to Farm Drainage details several studies conducted by Ohio State researchers on the effects of drainage on crop yields. The studies show that fields with good drainage will produce higher yields than fields that have poor drainage. A recently completed 25-year study showed that subsurface drainage increased corn yields by 24% to 39% and increased soybean yields by 13% to 46%. The same study also analyzed the return on investment for installing subsurface drainage in a field and found that for corn, $4 is returned for every $1 invested, and for soybeans, $3 is returned for every $1 invested. There are approximately 89 acres in the watershed currently being used for agricultural production. The average estimated yield increases for the soil types present in the watershed, given the appropriate drainage improvements are in place, are approximately 46 bushels per acre for corn and 14 bushels per acre for soybeans. Using current 2-year average crop prices from the USDA National Agricultural Statistics Service of $6.18 per bushel for corn and $14 per bushel for soybeans, it can be estimated that drainage improvements can potentially produce an average annual benefit of $21,372. This estimate assumes an even distribution of corn and soybeans in the watershed. To state it generally, the benefits of drainage will equal the increased yield multiplied by the market price. The increased value or benefit for residential and commercial properties is much more subjective and difficult to quantify. The lack of an adequate drainage outlet can dramatically affect the seasonable usability of a property and deteriorate the condition of household sewage treatment systems, potentially limiting the value of homes for resale. Should existing systems fail, the cost to perform repairs or construct alternate sewage treatment systems can range from the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. It would be reasonable to consider the cost of environmental degradation due to residential sewage treatment systems that may not be functioning properly. Other benefits that are commonly perceived as a result of drainage improvements focus on quality of life and positive neighborhood perception. Communities that have planned and maintained stormwater drainage infrastructures generally have higher resale values than those communities that are known to have a history of drainage problems or flooding. Conclusions. Based on all of the information gathered and generated for this project, we believe the benefits of the proposed petition request exceed the estimated current value of the improvements, and the establishment of a drainage maintenance easement per ORC 6137 would be beneficial to the watershed as a whole. We also find that the proposed improvement is necessary and that it will be conducive to the public welfare. The testimony brought to the joint board, however, by the landowners as to whether the benefits of this project exceed the costs should be given significant consideration in the decision to move forward with this project. Should the current petition be approved to proceed to a final hearing, the petition bond will be returned and detailed plans, specifications, estimated costs, and a schedule of assessments would be prepared. Additionally, a benefit versus cost analysis will also be performed to further determine the feasibility of advancing this proposed project. This report has been jointly approved by Chris Bowserman, Delaware County Engineer, and Bradley Irons, Marion County Engineer.
Thank you, Brett. Okay, the next step, is there anyone on the board that has a question for Brett?
I had a question, Brett. Usually when we get these petitions, there is construction that needs to be done to get the system to a good and sufficient outlet, but this is not the case here, apparently.
Preliminarily, I would state that. Obviously, you know, if the joint board chooses to move forward, one of the first things we're going to do is put a tile camera in the existing subsurface drain pipe, inspect its condition, knowing that it was done, I'll admit, before my time with the Soil and Water District, but it was done according to a plan done by the Delaware SWCD and our local NRCS office, and that construction was inspected when it went in. I have every reason to believe the infrastructure is in good shape, but obviously that's part of our investigation. But right now, we're proceeding with that being the thought.
So why the submission then, do you think?
I think we'll reference the part of the report that states that there's not a drainage maintenance easement over it. I'll let the
Sure.
petitioners in their testimony, but I think that would be, as far as a complete drainage system, that would be one thing that
Have
would
the
be
easement in
lacking.
place. Okay, makes sense.
The ability to go in and fix it should something happen in the future.
Any other questions from the board? No. Thank you, Brett. In just a second, we're going to ask those who are speaking for or against the petition to come forward. We'll start with those in favor, and you will be sworn in. But before that, did we get any?
We did not receive any specific written testimony for this.
Very well. Okay, with that, we will first ask for those wishing to testify in support of the petition. If you'll raise your hand, I'll acknowledge you. When you come forward, I ask that you give your name, your address, and if you can, your proper description by number we have on this map. It just helps us visually be able to see what your reference point is. And with that, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Come
Can I
forward.
speak on part for my father, or do you want him to speak for the landowners?
You have to be a landowner to speak, so unless you are, otherwise your father will have to speak.
You want now?
Sure, come forward and, you're welcome to come and stand next to it if you think that would be helpful as far as, okay. Sir, if you can give us your name,
Joe Isler,
I'm sorry,
Joe Isler, Isler,
okay, and your address?
6051 Gooding Road, Prospect,
And you know which lot number is yours? 7? Okay. With that, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed. Go ahead.
Well, we've got that one section of that one field, it's in that watershed. We didn't have any other way to go, so we run that 10-inch tile across there several years ago. And it even drains part of it on the west side of the railroad. And it's just if that tile doesn't work, it's just a swamp, the whole section of the field, and we have to have it.
Okay. Make sure I understood. The tile currently works or does not work currently?
Is what?
The tile currently works?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It has
Make
to
sure I
work.
understood. Okay, any other comments? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Brett.
Just for clarity, Mr. Isler, that's parcel number 3, so he's 7 and 3, not 8.
Okay.
It's a little fuzzy on the map.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? I will ask one more time. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the petition? With that, we'll move to those who are opposed to the petition. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the petition? Come forward.
You didn't give me a third option, is it? I'm neither a proponent or an opponent, but
Well,
we're neutral.
You chose to speak in opposition. Your comments will clarify that, I'm sure.
Okay.
So, your name?
My name is Vince Messerly. I'm president of the Stream and Wetlands Foundation, and we're parcels 10 and 4.
4, okay.
Do you need to swear?
I'm sorry?
Swear.
I am. I will. Do you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Proceed.
So I'm Vince Messerly, president of the Stream and Wetlands Foundation, and I suspect we're the reason why we're even here today, but maybe I'm misreading things. But the tile main coming from Norton Road to Norton Run goes through almost entirely our property. There's just a little 175 feet is referenced south of Norton Road, I'm sorry. As I said, we're not a proponent or an opponent. The drain tile goes through our property. Our plan is to restore that area to wetland habitat. Construction of that project will likely start in the next 2 or 3 months. So this is about 170 acres of farm fields that will be restored to wetland habitat. We're going through the review and approval process with the Army Corps of Engineers and anticipate that being secured soon. Our goal will maintain the drainage outlet for that tile. We can't block that water. We would be willing to provide an easement if needed. We did meet with Mr. Bacon and Mr. Boogerford last week virtually, and with Charles Walker from Marion County virtually. We suggested they look at putting that tile along Norton Road on the north side and outletting it into a catch basin at the corner, near the corner of Route 423 and Norton Road. That's something they expressed interest in looking at. We're willing to work with them. We're willing to work as far as a cost share goes. We think putting it along the road, either an existing right-of-way or new dedicated right-of-way, which, as you can see on that map, we own pretty much all the way to the corner. So we'd be willing to work with them on that. Short of that, we would be opposed to surface drainage maintenance there. You can see where it now outlets to the north and east. That actually is in a CRP contract, and in that area we intend to restore to wetland. So we would not be interested in keeping as an open surface drain that would be under maintenance through the petition ditch process. So I'd be glad to answer questions. I'm glad to talk it through, but we're neither opposed or a proponent of. We're neutral, but
Okay.
we're more than happy to work with everybody.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I had a question for, the drainage tile right now, is that an open field or is that subsurface?
The drain tile you see on that map there is the white and black dashed
Right,
line.
right.
That's about 850 feet, and that is enclosed. It's in
It's
a pipe.
subsurface?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I
And then the
thought.
swale, you can see just barely, goes to the north and east in that far northeast corner.
Okay. Now, we're not talking about maintaining that swale though, are we? Brett?
That's a question for after this step in the process.
Okay.
It would be all part of our evaluation. It's a lot of what we will propose if the board chooses to move forward will be, we're going to try to work with whatever plans Streams and Wetlands Foundation have for their property. Made the statement to them last week, and I'll make it for the board's knowledge as well. Our goal in designing a petition project is to achieve the requested good and sufficient outlet, and to do so in a way that doesn't limit somebody else's ability to develop and use their property. And I think, we can come to a solution that meshes both goals. But again, something that would be evaluated as part of survey engineering and design.
Yeah, I got a question for you. This natural habitat, and I certainly understand your desire, but we have other owners of property that could be affected by that. How much do we take into consideration the impact it has on this natural habitat versus the other farmers? Yeah, I'm sure he has a responsibility to make sure that we have good water flow.
Yeah, I think that falls to the precedent case law of the state of Ohio. A landowner if they do something that blocks drainage and causes damages to upstream landowners, could open themselves up to liability. Outside of the petition process, there is no legislative or legislated authority in situations like that. It's left as matters of precedent case law. And I'm hearing from the testimony and conversations that I've had, the goal is to put, the ORC 6137 to have the ability for the county acting as a joint board with Marion County to maintain that drainage in perpetuity. Again, I think those can be consistent uses. Obviously, Streams and Wetlands wants the flow of water. You can't have a wetland without water flow. So they're going to want that flow of surface waters into their wetland. It's just having projects that can cooperate together and have that drainage meet our specifications and hopefully serve what they're looking for as well.
Does this habitat create any additional issues, or is it all manageable?
I think it's all manageable, but I mean, again, I've not had an opportunity to see the detailed plans of what Streams and Wetlands is proposing at this point. That would be something that we would get with them on in the future here if we decide to move forward today.
Any other questions?
Yeah, suggestion was made to move the water flow to parallel to Norton Road. Again, based on I'm certainly not an expert like you are, but that sounds like an expensive proposition to create a new drain.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think all options are on the table. Certainly something that, we would take a look at. There's factors that are going to go into whether that's feasible or not. You have to look at, obviously, elevation first and foremost. Can you physically actually make that connection? We'd have to look at what are we connecting into. Does that drain have the capacity to handle essentially water from outside of the watershed? I think we'd need to have some legal opinion as to whether under a petition project and that we could divert water from one watershed to another. There's a lot of questions. I think probably that's ODOT's catch basin, so we'd have to have their permission to do it. So these are all things that go into finding that best least cost alternative, which is really what we're charged to do. So,
How much of this habitat is in this watershed? The habitat? Is it
I didn't.
quite a bit,
Did
little
you?
bit?
How much of your property's in the
I'm
water?
not sure if your table
Well,
addresses.
I don't do acres benefit calculations at this stage, so.
If the whole shoot match is 89 acres, we're probably only 15 or 20 of it.
In this watershed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks smallish.
It's a downstream
Yeah,
side,
yeah. So Brett, is looking at the alternative to create a new water flow path, is that part of the work you would do routinely for a petition like this?
I think Commissioner Benton, the best way to answer that is when we go into the engineering design of a project. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that engineering design is very simple. I tell folks a lot that sometimes the engineering is the easy thing. It's the property lines that complicate it. I think this is one where we have to go into it with an open mind to try and find that best least cost alternative and one that achieves the request of the petition while, like I said, doesn't inhibit somebody else's ability to develop their property.
It just seems to me that you've got again, apparently, this system that seems to be working, and all you're talking about is maintaining it versus creating a new system to divert water. It just sounds like enormously more expensive than just a system that's working fine to maintain.
It could be, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, just again,
You're not wrong in that line of thought,
Yeah,
necessarily.
yeah, different situation. So.
But again, part of the cost then could also be, what does leaving that in place, does that take away Streams and Wetlands, that property owners, I don't want to refer to you specifically, but when you take away a property owner's ability, I would compare it to if we were to put a tile through a site that's slated for development and that limits ground that can be developed, turned into a Walmart or to houses or something like that, you know, that's a real cost to the project, and we've got to take that into account. So when I say best least cost alternative, it's looking at the project holistically and deciding what really truly is best least cost.
Yeah, good point.
I guess I think more questions you ask today, the more chance we have to get this right. It would like to be almost have to do two estimates. If the maintenance, if you do it, if you don't do both, then we won't be able to make a judgment about what's fair and
Well,
appropriate.
The estimate that I presented to you would be a construction estimate. If I had to go in and replace that tile in place, as it sits right now, you know, my inspection proves that it's not in good shape, something's wrong, or we find that the capacity is not sufficient, that is the construction estimate. Going forward, if that requires some relocation, then we would have to look at how what's fair to divide those costs amongst the property owners. And that's all. I wouldn't intend to come back to you at a final hearing should we move forward with two estimates. You're going to get a proposal that's going to be something that we feel is the best least cost alternative with an estimate and a schedule of assessments to go along
So
with
your
that.
review at this time will simply be a matter of the maintenance, which would assume the current, okay, I just want to for clarity, to make sure we're all, and we can accept or reject it based on what, do you have, come forward.
But would you prepare, or would you, as part of your research, create an estimate for the other alternative, knowing that you're only gonna make one recommendation to us?
I will
Sure.
put together some numbers. I'm not necessarily going to formalize that into an estimate if I don't think it's the best least cost alternative.
Okay.
Brett Bergerford, Delaware County Engineer's Office.
Do I need to swear him in? Yes, I was just going to say that. Okay, Brett, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You use your left hand, but I guess that's okay.
I didn't want to do this because it may bring in some law enforcement. Luckily, we don't
Go
have
ahead.
it here today. Brett's done an awesome job of describing our conversation that we had with the master release last week in regards to kind of the scope and what these projects are. I just wanted to add one point. The point of running the addition, we don't really have an idea for the design because we won't know until we actually get the hard numbers from on the field. But if we do, our intent is to come back with you with a final design or a final hearing project that will satisfy the intent of the petition. If we were to pursue alternative designs that would take us out of the watershed, what that's going to do is you're going to have additional affected parties and parcels because the size of the watershed will have expanded and we'll have additional parcels that will have to be notified for that final hearing who are not present today. So we're going to be opening up that envelope a little bit larger. And so at this point, we can't say if it would be an alternative to take it out of the road
So
right
to
away.
clarify, the alternative would take you out of the watershed.
If you were to consider, I
Expand
mean,
the
again, we
watershed.
don't know based on the numbers, but if you were to take it out of the watershed and break watershed, then you're going to be opening up
I understand.
the landowners. You're going to be bringing more petitioners affected landowners into that design. So again, our intent is to come back to a final hearing with a project or an approach that's going to satisfy the intent of the original petition and the petitioners affected within the within this petition. But again, it'll make things a little bit more complicated because you'll have a lot more new landowners who are affected if we were to break watershed with that design. But again, we'll know more after if you all grant prayer of the petition and we actually get the authorization to go out and do field survey work. So just wanted to clarify that. I just wanted to make that point known.
I think Andy has a question.
Yeah, that was my concern is if you take a drainage outside the watershed to the box or whatever you're talking about, maybe take it down Norton Road and hook it in there where, what was the intersection? Which was outside the watershed. I don't believe that's in the scope of the petition.
Correct, and that wasn't a solution because right now we don't even know the scope of the problem. But based on testimony, there may not be a problem that requires to be fixed. or may require to be fixed. But to answer your question, that was a solution that was presented by the Messerly's to, keep the drainage out of their proposed project. But sometimes no good deeds go unpunished, and you try to do one thing here and then you create more problems there. So that's not our intent, coming back with you at the final hearing, is to have a larger a larger problem, kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, kind of a solution. So
The purpose of the question is just to get some clarity, and frankly, I'm not sure I realized initially that it was outside the watershed, so, but regardless, I just these questions are helpful as far as giving us some background as we come into the next step, assuming we approve it today. Other questions? Okay,
I wasn't quite done yet.
okay, go ahead.
So-
I'm sorry.
So I guess to address the out of the watershed, just, the map, you guys can't see it right now, but, so that catch basin's at the corner of 423 and Norton Road, it's just maybe a little bit north of it. While it is outside the watershed under consideration today, it's in the same stream. It just happens to go in that catch basin before it goes north to Norton Run. So while again, it does break watershed for what's under consideration today, it's still in Norton Run watershed. And then shortly downstream of Route 23, Norton Run goes into Delaware Lake. And so it's, again, the same but not the same watershed. One of the concerns we have is with that drain tile and the easement going through the property, if it maintains the existing course, would be that we would want to make sure that any new tile would be a solid tile, and it would be designed such to minimize the lateral effect from that tile to drain the wetlands that we plan to restore. And again, we'd be happy to work with Brett to work towards that. And again, our suggestion, the alternative of going along Norton Road, kind of eliminates a lot of those concerns for us. The other thing is when you look at the cost benefit, it is an existing working system. To my knowledge, the proposal is not to improve any of the subsurface drainage within the watershed. It's just the outlet north of Norton Road. So I don't really see the benefit being there that's being proposed. Furthermore, when you look at the crop prices, those crop prices, grain prices rather, were kind of stale. The current grain prices this morning are $4.26 a bushel for corn and $9.80, I believe, for soybeans. So they should use an updated price when they look at their cost-benefit analysis. But when they're looking at that, they're assuming 100% benefit. The OSU study says you're taking an undrained field and converting it to a drained field. These are fields that are already drained, already have a tile system in there. So the lift is minimal, if any. And I think that needs to be understood when you're looking at the cost benefit. That's all I've got. I'll be glad to answer questions and any comments.
You have any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else like to speak in opposition? I will again ask twice. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Okay, with that, anyone have any comments or observations they want to make before we close the hearing? And after we close the hearing, we'll take a vote. Or someone will make a recommendation, so. With that, I move that we close the hearing. Second?
We'll note the time that,
Second,
2:08.
Okay,
okay.
do I need to get a vote for the closing?
No.
Okay. We changed the practice a while back, and just want to make sure we do it correctly.
Mr. Chairman.
With that, we now, comments and ultimately a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion and have our clerk read proceeding with the project survey and design.
Resolution number 24-03, in the matter of proceeding with the project survey and design for the James Joint County Watershed Drainage Improvement petition by Joseph Isler.
So move.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second.
I think.
Any discussion?
Sure. The factors favorable would be the reduction of future deterioration, number 2, of surface and subsurface drainage infrastructure, and also the maintenance that would take place, annual maintenance, and the protection of the improvement in perpetuity.
Okay. Any other comments? I'll just add that our soil and water and our engineer's office will do an excellent job of reviewing and evaluating to reassure everybody in the room, whichever side you're on. And they take this very seriously, and the track record is very, very good on when they come back and make their recommendations. So I feel very confident, and I do believe that we've heard enough information today that I would support it, as outlined by Commissioner Lewis. Call for the vote?
Vote on motion 24-03. Commissioner Benton?
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis?
Aye.
Commissioner Merrill?
Aye.
Commissioner Applefeller?
Aye.
Commissioner Davis?
Aye.
Okay. With that, we'll move to the second step, and once it's determined their work is done, we'll get back with a date for the second hearing. And appreciate everybody being here today, taking your time to be part of this process. And with that, if there's no other business, we are adjourned.
Thank you.